Howdy everybody, David here, and this is another review. And in this particular review, we have the Dungeons & Dragons Dungeonology book. And the Dungeonology book is by Matt Forbeck and by Studio Games and Studio Press. And it has a retail value of $24.99. And you can get this online on Amazon.com, which is where I got it. Pre-ordered it for $14. So the book it's a hardback. And it is a little bit larger, as you can see, than a standard 5e book, such as the Player's Handbook. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me, Dave, is this a book full of dungeons, you know, like Undermountain and some of the more popular dungeons that have been in the Sword Coast and the Forgotten Realms? And the answer is no. This is a licensed product. It is not put out by Wizards of the Coast. It's just licensed by them. And this book is great if you are a new player to Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it doesn't have, you know, detailed, fleshed out maps of dungeons, each room, and it's nothing like that. It is basically like it's a history book, basically, of Faerun, heroes, monsters, all kinds of stuff. So, it is a hardback book, as you can see. It's a very high glossy cover. It's got beautiful art all throughout it. And we're going to go ahead and take a look inside. The one thing about Volathamp's Dungeonology book, or Volos for short, there's a lot of gimmicks throughout the book. And I mean, you know, pop-up things. As you can see here on the left-hand side and the inside of the cover, there is a note. And it basically welcomes you to the book. And just has a short little story there. And this is by Elemenster. And it's nice. Like I said, it's not a true resource book for 5e. This is more gauged for the new player. Now, of course, there's your typical 5e disclaimer down here talking about teleportals and not responsible for you popping up somewhere where you shouldn't. Some special thanks to the creators in the past, especially with Ed Greenwood, the creator of the Forgotten Realms. And then it has, every time you turn a page, it's another chapter. And chapter 1 is Welcome to Adventure, and it just talks about all kinds of stuff of being an adventurer, all kinds of, like I said, all kinds of beautiful art all throughout the book. And what I mentioned about the gimmicks, like on the first page and the inside of the cover, there are all kinds of other fold-out pages. So on this page, you can see that there's a portrait of Volo there, and a little bit of his history. So every page is like that. Turn a page, it's chapter 2. It talks about how to build a party, you know, how to get your party started. Get your party started. Talks about, I mean, basic stuff. Marching order. All that good stuff. There's no I in party. It's about a teamwork. All kinds of hired help that you can get. And on this page, there's another fold out that has the races. These are more races of the base player handbook. You know, like the humans and the half-orc and half-elves and whatnot. And this is pretty much the art out of the PHB too. So as you can see, pretty much, not on every page, but there's, you know, a gimmick on just about every page. Turn the page, it talks about, you know, all kinds of equipment that you're going to use as an adventurer. It talks about armor, weapons, you know, your starter packs, the different currencies. There's really nothing on this page, but, you know, you can tell that the pages are actually really thick. And what it is it's a double page that has basically just been folded over, I guess, so they can do all of the things that they want to do with it, you know, like all the other fold outs and stuff. So turn the page, talks about magic items, gives some of the other more popular items with the art out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's a gimmick here that talks about the Wand of Wonder. You know, it talks about spell books and being a magic user. There's a little sample novice spell book here with some cantrips like light, mending, firebolts, and then it goes into magic missile and thunderwave. So it's just a a great book for someone new. I mean, this would be good to get him or her for Christmas or something. Here's the lands of the Forgotten Realms. All kinds of information on the areas, whether it be in the Underdark, whether it be the Fae. A little bit of lore about the Sword Coast. Now, the next page is actually really nice. You can turn it sideways, and this is Volo's wondrous map. And this is the the full detailed version of the Sword Coast, which was, I believe, in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. And then it has top 10 Dungeonology, Dungeonologist tips. It also talks about certain items on the bottom here. Pretty nice. Talks about the Water Skull Throne. It folds back up really nicely, and goes to Rogues and Traps next. Talks about the importance of rogues and to trust your rogues. How to find the traps without actually setting them off. This is the great part. Let your rogue go first and die. I love it. This is a good one too. Trust your rogue, no matter what its alignment is. Next page talks about fortune and glory. It does talk about cooperation in this book. I mean, there is a theme about cooperation, which is, especially with splitting the treasure. A lot of times I know that doesn't happen in your party. This talks about fortune and glory, carrying your loot. Also, this little gimmick here, nice full page piece of art with a dragon. This is, I guess, replicating a magic holding bag, which you would open it up, and then it talks about, magical containers. Pretty cool. It just folds right back down. And then you turn the page, and then there's clerics here. Talks about the importance of clerics. Has the 5 factions. That is a big theme in D&D 5e. The Gauntlet, the Zentrum, the Lord's Alliance, the Harpers, and the Emerald Enclave. Next we get into the more popular monsters and the more dangerous monsters, as your gelatinous cubes and your owlbears, your Giths, your mind flayers, Displacer Beast. Here's a Book of Dragons. The Book of Dragons explains the different colors between the chromatics and the metallics. Talks about the different types of breath weapons that the color giants have. Oh, I'm sorry, the color dragons. And then it talks about a couple more of the more renowned dragons, especially on the next page where the villainous threats are. It has Assyriarak, Zastam takes control of the lands of Fae far to the east, Tiamat, Demogorgon, Orcus, Loth from the Underdark. On the next page it talks about heroes and legends of the last X amount of years from the Sword Coast. There's a nice little flip page that has Wolfgar and Regis the Halfling, Brunor Battlehammer, and Caddy Marie. Catty Brie, guys. It's not Caddy Marie. Nice brain fart there, Dave. Talks about Minxed. Talks about Drizzt. Of course, if you're going to talk about all of these, you have to talk about Drizzt. And you have to talk about Greenwood's creation, Elminster. Then on the final page is a nice hologram here. There we go. Roar, dragon. Then there is a Volo's Guide to the Forgotten Realms. This has a piece of tape. I don't want to rip it. So, and then there's a little note here on the back, hoping that you've enjoyed the book and all that good stuff. Then it has, a bunch of information about the Sword Coast and a lot of information about all of the events so far that have taken place in, the time on the calendar of D&D 5e, the transition from 4th to 5th. He talks about the uprising of the Cult of the Dragon, the rise of the elementals with the princes of apocalypse. Talks about out of the abyss and the demons of the underdark. Then it goes into some of the more renowned larger cities, like Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, Neverwinter, and some of the minor cities as well, like Candlekeep, Daggerford, Luskin, and Skullport. Talks about Gauntlgrim. Talks about one of the most famous dungeons and dangerous, famous and dangerous dungeon of all, pretty much. The Tomb of Horrors and Undermountain. I would kind of class them together, although the Tomb of Horrors is much smaller and really ruthless. Talks about Fae. Talks about the Underdark, some of the minions there. The layers of the Underdark. Talks about some of the islands out in the seas. Then it goes into Curse of Strahd. Talks a little bit about Greyhawk. So you could probably expect a campaign setting coming out with Greyhawk. I would imagine so. So there you go, guys. That is the Dungeonology book. Like I said, you can order this for $14 and some change on Amazon, or you can pay $25 at like Barnes & Noble or another bookstore online. I like the book. It's definitely not a source book. You probably won't open it up too much. There is some pretty good information. It doesn't take but a couple hours to read, even if it takes you that long. But I think it's great for new players, especially with the low price point, especially if you buy it online. You can give this to somebody for Christmas, or just getting into Dungeons and Dragons. So I think it's actually a really nice source, especially for new players. So, but if you're new, if you're a collector, yeah, pick it up. The price point is great. But I hope you guys like it. What do you guys think of Dungeonology? Are you guys going to pick it up? Or are you going to put it on your bookshelf? Let me know in the comments section down below, will yous? So, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, happy gaming.